Okay, guys, here we are. Last speech of the night. 21 Convention, Tampa, Florida, and you guys have got to know about this guy. I mean, as I brought him on stage previously, I had said he was known for delivering some of the best speeches ever at a convention, and then he came on and delivered one even better. To close it out for us tonight, on this night which, represents a journey where we started off with a question, and I guarantee you in the pursuit of that question that you guys had in your mind has shifted and changed into a new perspective, a new transformation of self. And no better man could represent that than Socrates. Man, I'm honored. Seriously, man.
You make it hard to live up to. You really do.
No, you said
and
that
a lot
last
of other
time.
people. I know.
You said that last time, but you lived up to it.
I'm really not looking forward to this for a whole slew of reasons. It's not just public speaking. It's not the fact that I'm tired. You guys are exhausted. You're probably not going to remember a damn thing I say, and I can't blame you. You've had 3 long, filled days. This is probably the longest day of all 3. And you guys have been outstanding. You've been energetic. You've been involved. You've been focused to an extent that an old man like myself can't keep up. There's also a whole series of things that I look at and sit down and say, how do you end an evening capped out on a weekend like this? This is the last one. This is not something I would look forward to, and it carries a tremendous amount of weight because you want it to be relevant. You know you guys have a thirst for knowledge and everything else, and how do you add a little more content knowing that this is a finalization? And it's something that, knowing it in advance, I had to prepare for, and I kept scratching it and throwing something in the trash, thinking something else. And I sat back and said, what were the other experiences like when I went to the 21 conventions? What were the questions I had? What came up? And I wanted to formulate a series of answers and response that didn't just end here. I started the first presentation off with what you could expect with the 21 convention, a little bit of the history of it, my experiences, and what predated a lot of that came into this. What I'd like to do now is actually not end this, the dialogue, the communication, the relationship building, the inspiration. What I'd like you to do is actually take everything you've experienced this weekend from any author, any speaker, anybody you've engaged with, any of the attendees, and actually carry this forward throughout this coming year, to take this information and project it forward. And so there are some universal themes that I think any number of the speakers touched on that bind us together. And it was interesting for me to find the pinpoints of what each speaker spoke about, what their expertise were, particularly what their backgrounds were, to come back into what they ended up doing, to understand who they are now and what their past had shaped them into being. And I would sit down and say this, is that each of these people, wrong way, had purpose. Each and every one of these individuals had a purpose, and they found it, and they're executing it. One of the things we'll describe life as being is filled with purpose. And we know purpose is essential to life because when you don't have purpose, life is devoid of meaning. When you are lost, you have no purpose. That is a terrible, terrible place. When you have no purpose, life isn't worth living. As a men's organization, as a men's group, even as a humans group, it is true for anyone. If we want to reduce suicide rates, we want to look at self-inflicted mortality. We need to instill meaning in people's lives. We need to make connections. Paul in a blank. Greg Swan is like a shot in the ass. There's nothing that will wake you up faster than actually having your life on display to a target audience, especially then having your girlfriend brought up. So I'm tired, I'm nervous, and he shot of adrenaline on that. But the reality is this: you want to be able to find your purpose, okay? People who are not motivated know it. We all know it. when you're not motivated. You're down, you're downtrodden, your emotional level of energy is low. And the thing is, we self-regulate. We know when we need motivation, then we go looking for motivation. What we're not really seeking motivation, we're seeking purpose. And there is an immense link between purpose and motivation. And if you feel like you need to be motivated about something, you've lost your purpose. If you are looking for motivation, you want to supply motivation, find a purpose. It doesn't have to be grand, okay? The grand ones will inspire you. Other times, a simple thing, getting something done. Greg talks about being driven. He moves from purpose to purpose to purpose to purpose, okay? You can do that sequentially. You can take several purposes all at once and absorb all those and understand those and values and filter those through. But the essence is you need to be able to find your purpose. Look for those sources of inspiration. I don't particularly care what your individual purposes are. Each of the speakers had different purposes, different backgrounds. Find yours. Go looking for it. If you don't know what it is, go searching. You've got the entire universe to actually fulfill this in. Not only that, you actually have the chance to go back in time and take a look at other people's. Explore past history and find out what other human elements, what other universal purposes existed. It's a fascinating time. We have the ability of reflection upon not only our own lives, but in others. Find yourselves in other people, in other purposes, and you'll actually find a similarity. You'll find a grain of truth that will be true to you and will inspire you. Pursue those elements. The second is external motivation. It's necessary at times. It's highly beneficial. Problem is, it shouldn't be a nutritional content that you constantly survive on. This isn't what you actually eat and shit every day of your life. Because the problem is, this is priming the pump. You want to prime it. You want to get things going. You want to energize, okay? You want to get it moving. But external motivation done to excess is dependency. You will not have your own purpose if you're dependent upon someone else. And this whole organization, the 21 Convention, is about self-reliance, self-educating, self-fulfilling, self-pursuing. So be very, very wary of external motivation. Know its place. Know when you need to actually have that little bump. Know when you actually need to propel a little bit further, a little bit of juice. Energize yourself with other people, but be able to be a self-starter. I love Tony Robbins. There's some great content coming out of the man. But you don't want to have him on you every day. You don't want to have Tony Robbins telling you what to do and motivating you daily for you to pursue your life, to pursue your happiness, to find the meaning in your life. You want to be able to self-start these things. The second one is, or the third one actually, is momentum. This will help carry you along. I'm telling you, there's nothing like a body of work to propel you further when you're tired and drained and you're exhausted. All right? To get momentum requires organized effort. Not just any effort. It can't be directed anywhere. It has to be focused. The more focused you are and the more you can leverage the effort you're putting forward, the greater your results will be. There's no better way to develop a head of steam than at the very beginning. An initial hard push and a sustained push will sustain you more than if you just gradually, incrementally add a little more work, a little more work. Life is too fucking short to take things incrementally. All right? I'm a little too cautious at times. Others I've talked to here will jump right in. I admire that. One of the people that I admire most in this room, because his ability to just jump in whole fucking load, is the man you just saw almost introduced me, Anthony Johnson. This is a guy who jumped in at a very, very young age, put himself out there to create this. I've done a lot of things in my life. I've never jumped in like that. If you want inspiration, take a look around you. You're going to find men like Anthony Johnson in this room. You're here today, all of you. The question is, will you rise to that occasion? Will you rise to your own potential? Will you become the man who you know you should be? That's a birthright, by the way. Becoming the man you know you should be. I want to talk about something about ego depletion. This is about emotional energy reserve you have available for any number of things. I'm not a good example of it. Matter of fact, I'm a piss-poor example of it. Look at my body. This is what happens when you don't treat yourself with respect, when you don't honor your place, when you don't honor your own time. My body is a ramification of me self-sacrificing to duty, to principle, to workload, to obligations. It's a form of servitude. You do not want to get biologically out of control and out of check. My health markers are abysmal. I have any number of predispositions for fatality. And it is a hard fight back. Luckily, I surround myself with excellence. I always have. I've been very fortunate with that. I have the ability to actually sit down and talk to James Steele about any number of things, then run over to talk to Mr. Jeannet and talk about, hey, how about this? Is there a sleep study dealing with how do I raise my self-care with my stress levels? Because if your stress levels are not matched by self-care, they're going to be out of whack. And you're going to be running on an empty tank. And you're going to end up what I end up frequently with. I end up with pneumonia 3 times in 5 years. Kick it on the ass. My time spent with my family, who I see once a year, spent in bed in pneumonia, barely able to stand. Not a cool place. And by the way, that's kind of easy. You get over pneumonia. I'm not going to get over the heart attack that kills me. All right? Morale. You have to understand morale. Morale's kind of fleeting. It's also very nebulous. Okay? The best way I can kind of describe it is consider running a marathon. How do you feel when you cross that finish line? You're going to be ecstatic. Your morale is going to be high. And I'll change in an instant when I have to tell you have to walk all the way back. Understand what workload shifting will do, what morale will do to your energy, to your sense of motivation, to the momentum you build up. You want to be cautious about it. Morale is also contagious. You want to know where morale is really important? Look at life and death situations. Who are the people contending with life and death situations, and look at how they manage morale? Individuals in the military. All right? Morale is contagious. How do you think they manage that? They cut negativity short quick. And I mean really fucking quick. Not only that, they actually promote positivity. Tremendous amount of positivity, even if it's artificial. There's no better day to be in the military than right now. Fine ass damn day. Dark, rainy, sleet, rain, mud, didn't matter. What was the response? Damn fine day to be in the U.S. Army. I'm a goddamn rock star. I'm an American. Not only am I an American, I'm an American fucking soldier. Damn fine day to be in the mud. It's morale. All right? Learn other things. Other great athletes, sports teams, same damn thing. Think of any of these things that teams do to build morale, okay? To make sure they think they can do whatever they're going to do, be highly competitive, and they're going to perform. You're concerned about performance? Monitor your morale. Focus and sustainment. Interesting thing on focus is it's a form of discipline. And it's not a discipline of where you focus on success. And one of the things I really like about Steve Martin is not his comedic genius, but his sense of success and his discipline of focus. It's not the projects he said yes to, it was the projects he said no to. We can all say no to the easy things, the cheap things. It's the things that hurt, okay? It's the presentations I didn't see today because I was tired and I knew I needed to present. My job's not here to see the presentations. God, I love them. There's some people I really would have wanted to spend more time with, but I knew I needed to get my rest. I wanted to be sharp. I wanted to be awake. I wanted to be able to deliver. You have to be able to make the costly decisions of saying no. And if you don't have an ability to say no, you're not going to be successful. It's not the yeses that make wins. It's the nos. This is going to be a big one. How do you take all this and go forward? One of the most important things you'll do is be able to set milestones and set goals. And there's an art form to it. It's fairly basic, it's mundane, but I think we need to go through it. And your goals should be your guiding elements that will guide you through your work efforts. When I talked about organizational work efforts, this is what we're talking about. And there's a remarkable difference when you actually study goals. Particularly when you look at people's one-year goals compared to their 5-year goals. Typically, people with one-year goals vastly underperform. They don't achieve what they think they can do in 1 year. I find that interesting. You know, New Year's resolutions are the big one. What are you going to get done this year? All right? The really surprising one is 5 years goals. 67% of the time, people exceed their 5-year goals. They underappreciate what they can do in a relatively short period of time. 5 years isn't that long. Maybe to you guys, you're young. To me, it's had a number of 5-year goals. But the issue is this. Understand that you can probably exceed more in 5 years. So it pays to actually think big. Nice thing about thinking big, they inspire. And inspiration is a terribly, terribly valuable tool to have in your back pocket. Because when it's cold, wet, muddy, when you're tired, you're drained, you're working alone, and there's nobody else around you, it'll warm you. It will warm you. All right? Now let's talk about the range markers. I think if you're going to have a good set of goals, you should probably go 5 years out. 1 year should be coming in, and I think you need to fill in the gaps. These are going to be the range markers, because it's not, you just don't want to have distant goals. You want to be able to have them set at even increments. So what I would sit down and say, if you're going to have 5-year goals, recognize that recognize that your 4, 3, and 2-year goals should line up. They're going to be big. They may be a little nebulous, but those should be leading up to your 5-year goals. Likewise, 1-year goals, these are going to be more actionable, more direct. These are the ones you're going to be thinking on a regular basis and knowing, I need to be looking and doing the following things. Those should be broken down by months. 9, 6, 3 months. I'll even bring it down to 30 days. So I know in a 30-day period, I've got to get these things done. And the way I know I'm going to get those 30 days things done, I have a weekly goal. And it's probably 4 or 5. I'm overworked. That's why I have this body. I list them out. All right? Part of that will be journaling. I will tell you right now, just don't put this on a small piece of paper. Create a Word document. On each sheet, have a range goal. List that shit out. What gets written down has a higher percentage of getting completed than the stuff you don't. It just is. Mark it off. All right? Review it regularly. I review mine weekly. Problem with that, I've got a goddamn to-do list that's pages long. It's daunting. Every day I look at this goddamn to-do list again and again and again and again. It's nothing but a to-do list. Self-defeating. So I'm going to tell you something else that I found very valuable. On the last sheet, January 1, put the date and the year. Every goal you got done for the week, in the month, wherever it lies, that shit gets in the win column. Put the wins in the win column. And every time you look at your to-do list, you look at your win column. Every time. I'll also tell you this. Open the goddamn thing up 2 or 3 times and only look at the win column. Because you know what? You need to sit down and celebrate your wins. You need that momentum. You need that success to pull you through. Not artificially, not externally from Tony Robbins or anyone else, me or anyone else, your friends or your family. Yourself, because you're judging yourself by your own standards. You know what those are. And when you're able to look at your successes objectively by your own standards and see win after win after win after win, wins you forgot about, wins you don't really remember, oh yeah, I did do that, oh yeah, I did do that, and you're building memory of success after success after success, you're going to get somewhere. Last one. As Americans, we don't celebrate enough, not in a typical fashion. You need to celebrate your wins when they're significant. You need to celebrate them when you've actually put out efforts. One of the reasons why I have a bottle of champagne in my fridge no matter what else is in there. When I was barely making rent, I had an $8 bottle of champagne in the fridge. When I couldn't afford that, I had a split. And when I had a significant win, that shit got opened. That's how you celebrate your life, because you know what? You celebrate it daily, you celebrate it with wins, because if you don't, you never will. You never will. So get in the habit of celebrating your life. Isn't that a funny phrase? Celebrating your life, celebrating your successes. By the way, what else are you celebrating when you're doing it? If you're working on your purposes, every time you celebrate, you're celebrating your purpose. Lastly, I want to leave you with this. You must have your attention on the future if you're going to create one. I don't want to ever see you people again. Not the way you are today. A year from now, I want to see changed men. I want to hear stories of how each and every one of these speakers have changed you. I want to see how each of the attendees have changed you, how you've taken those experiences, those relationships, those connections, and you implemented them. I want to see new men next year. Thank you.
All right.